Hi, I'm Joey, and this is a show I call Speak Out. Now today, I'm going to show you just a little bit for you computer geeks. I'm going to show you how to take the monitor off this Hewlett-Packard GP50. I'll go through the steps as easily as I possibly can for you. It's a little tricky, but not that hard. Okay, I'm going to pause this now because that's what I wanted to tell you. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, first off, you want to remove the battery. That's pretty much a given. Now in tools, I have just a very fine screwdriver. It's about the size of most screws, and I keep it on a magnet so I can keep the tip magnified. And a set of jeweler screwdrivers for whatever I might need. Now, on this particular unit, there are 4 screws, very small screws, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding into the battery case. And along in here, you have 1, 2, 3. These will be longer screws. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take all 4 screws out and these 3 screws up here. But what I intend to do is to lay them, in a pattern there. So, alright, so let me pause it here and remove those screws. Now, as you can see, I removed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 7th one is loose. Doesn't want to come out with a magnet. When I turn it over, it'll come out. If I lose it, I have plenty more to replace it. Alright, there were also 2 more screws. One in this corner, and there's one over here in this corner, which is out of sight. I took those 2 out. Now, as you can see, I have placed everything. There's the screws in exactly the same way they should go back in every hole. Again, I took the front and back plate off, sitting there with the battery. You can put them on very last. It covers your memory and your modem. So that's how far as we've gotten so far. Time to flip it over. Alright, just for in case, I'm thinking about pulling the memory. If you can see it down there. Just in case. You see the memory there? You see how they're held in by those clips? Let me see here if I can't. Okay, now you see the memory here? It might not be such a bad idea to pull it out. They're held in by these little clips on the side. All you have to do is take your finger and spread them apart and the memory would come right out. Again, another view of what I took the screws out of. And then one more point of interest, here we have one more panel. I already loosened the 2 screws that hold it down. It's held in with clips. Alright, I'll remove that. There would be the hard drive. If there were to be a hard drive failure, you could use this, and if you had major restore disks for the laptop, you'd be able to put a brand new hard drive in and restore it right back to factory condition. If not, they're sure that any other software that anybody might have to reload a Windows 7 operating system can also be used. But, it is best to have your restore disk. But again, 1, 2, 3 screws, slides right out. It's a SATA connection, so it's a brand new hard drive. So I'm not going to take it out because there's really no reason for me to take it out. But that's just to show you underneath that panel there. Now, on a whole lot of other laptops, sometimes you can just pry off the tops. Other times you have to do things. This one such was hold underneath. That's the reason why we had to take off the screws. But at this point, this just slides right off with the keyboard. Just like that. This has a little power ribbon cable right here. That's where I would use one of my little screwdrivers. Just lightly lift that up. That is the power switch and Wi-Fi connector. And we'll just put that aside. The keyboard. Now, for what I'm about to do, I really don't need it, but again, can you see the connector going in there? Another connector that if you were to pull it out, it's very hard to put back in. But you can do it as long as you have a steady hand. For this point in time, I don't see a reason for me to have to remove the keyboard. Now, there are more screws here to taking out this monitor. There are two right there, and there are two right there. So those will be the two that we'll be taking out next. Alright, we have a little bit of a problem. Like I said, there are two screws holding this bracket on over here, and there are two screws. But the problem is now, the video cable for the monitor is plugged in here. You have to take that out, which comes out very easy. It's keyed. You know, you can't even put it back in wrong. It won't go in. So now we'll remove this screw right here. Okay, like I said, all the screws are out. Now at this point, with the monitor, you see here and here, this whole bracket will come out and the monitor shall flip over. And thus, your monitor is now off. As you can see, the gaps, it came right out of there. Of course with a little force considering the plastic, but nothing broke. Now, this monitor here has two screws underneath these pads. Not like other monitors who might have screws all around the monitor, you know. So what I'm going to do now is remove these two screws. Now see, I use a needle nose pliers because there's a little rubber grommet here. They stick back in when you get done. I save them. Now I'll remove these screws. magnetic screwdrivers help. Just put them aside to where I'll remember where they're going in. And there we go. Now, as you can see, all the way around there is a plastic cover covering the monitor. Now this comes off very, very easy. Actually, you just put your fingers right here along it. It's held in with clips. If you're careful enough, you don't have to worry about breaking it. The tricky part down here, getting it off. Now see, there's your whole cover that was covering the bottom for the swing hinge. All right, that was the easy part. Now, up here in this corner, hold on. Now, up here in this corner, I got a lighter flashlight. There's a screw there, and only a screw there on this particular monitor. Sometimes they're there. The holes are there because they can be generic screens. You never know. If you eBay one, you're going to get a compatible one. All right, so I will take out these two screws. Magnetic screwdrivers. Oh, there it goes. Put them where I'll remember them. Although after a while, you start to remember what sizes go where. The tricky ones have yet to come. All right, we've done that. Now, along the ridge of this monitor, there are these silver brackets. They are very careful. I'm going to have to move the camera to a different angle here. Alright? You can do it with this screwdriver. You have to bend that up. There is a screw located right here. It is a miniature screw. You take it out, but try not to lose it, because you'll never find it again. Again, that's why magnetic screwdrivers come in handy. Now there will be two more screws. Up in here. Again, these are very small screws. I suggest you magnetizing your screwdriver. I found this screwdriver, I don't know where I found it, but it turned out to be the best thing I ever found. Now again, the same thing on this side. I'm going to lift these up. I'm going to start with the bottom screw, like I did on the other one. The final two. Now, all screens, once you get past the cover, most screens are generic. They all use the same type of a railing system. I'll point out a couple other things while I have this open, because I'm actually inspecting this particular laptop for other problems too. It has video problems. It's jumping and shaking. I can't figure out why. It could very well be the ballast of the monitor. At first inkling, you would want to think that would just be a loose cable, but there we go. The monitor is now free. Don't worry about these brackets. When you put the monitor back on, they'll all go back in when you put the screws in over there. You know, nothing's perfect, especially when you're a backyard mechanic doing this stuff. You know, most important thing is just remember where those screws come from. But these screws that came out of here are very small. Now, our monitor is free. Oh, and here, on certain models, see that? They give you the webcam hookup, but on this model, they didn't give you the webcam. What a bummer. My other computer, my Dell, had the same thing. They give you the microphone, but that don't work either. You know, I don't know why they did that. Well, anyway, there will be a plug here, so you want to make sure the plug doesn't go back in under the monitor when you set your new monitor in, because new monitors go for cracked monitors, whatever. Now we flip the monitor over. Here is the connector for the monitor. Now, you try to save it and unhook it from over there if you've got the exact same monitor, because this plug right here, see, that would be the plug for the camera. We see this plug right here, very hard to get out. I'll see if I can't demonstrate. Like I said, I already know that this machine has a hardware problem, and I'm looking elsewhere after this. Cooling fan. You have to really watch the way they tape this down, because they really do a good job. I'm not sure I can get it off. If I can't, I'm not going to pull it. See, it has some sort of a protective. See, it's coming. I don't know if I want to pull it all the way out, but maybe what I'm doing right now might benefit me too with this one. Now that's about out. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I had that reseated, because like I said, this isn't a monitor problem. This is a problem I'm looking forward, probably towards cooling fan, maybe. The hard drive isn't bad. The hard drive has already been tested. Okay, let me put this back together real quick, and maybe I'll end it there, or I might show you something else. You see, the secret of putting the monitor back on, onto those tiny little rails, without having a nervous breakdown, I started taking them off from here and went here and here. Go in reverse. Get this first screw here. Then this second screw here. And then the bottom screw, which will line up much easier. Same for the other side. Alright, all I have left are these two screws. That one, that'll hold the monitor down flat, and I'll be ready to put the front cover back on, which will combine going over into here. One other thing I did want to point out. See this circuit board here? That's called the ballast board for the monitor. These plugs are pretty standard, but not this one so much, this one on the monitor. So when you get it, you want to try to use your original ballast board unless you buy the complete monitor that has the board on it, and then you just run the wires to there. But in most case scenarios, you won't get the ballast board. You know, one plug, that's what makes the monitor work, just like an old style TV. I guess I used to have ballasts for something. So, again, I'm looking for another problem. I'm going to put this back together. Okay, monitor's all back in. 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Holds the monitor in place. The 2 screws are in over here. It's all snapped back together again. No kinking, no breakage, and no movement out of the monitor. Now, what I want to show you is this right here. There's your monitor video cable. There's your video input right here. See the cable here, the input here. Now it's very easy to put back together. You really can't mess it up. But this is one of the most important things after you've done all your other connections along with the ballast, along with up in here. You know, it's more a part of taking it apart than it really is. I mean, if you're going this far with a laptop, then you basically do know what you're doing. You know, and I'm just doing this video because I think I should share it. Alright, so what I'm going to do is kill this light, and I'm going to plug that in. Hopefully my hands won't get in the way. Oh, you see how easy that just slid right in? Just slid right in there. Now, the wires that are coming off that you'll see coming in here, they have grooves, you know, to get them out of the way. You know, you just be aware of that. You push them under there so that way something don't happen. You know, another one over here. Now, again, on the keyboard, if you had to replace the keyboard. Now, separately, there's some ports here. You have a small blue port right here with a small blue cable coming off of it. That is for your Synoptics touchpad. If that comes loose, and as you can see the size of the cable, you have to be very careful putting that one back in. And it's probably a slide out connector. That's what it looks like. The same for the keyboard. The keyboard here, if you have to take this keyboard out, it has tabs here that you push forward. Alright, so you push those tabs forward, the ribbon cable will come right out. The trick is keeping them forward when you're putting the ribbon cable back in. That ribbon cable has to go straight right back in because the contacts are so very minute that you can't be off of contact. And I've had it done where I've had to reseat keyboards 2 or 3 times just because I couldn't get it in straight enough, and finally I can. These are one of the worst connectors in the world. They have others, like the one I showed you up top, which was a flip down. I don't know why they didn't go with a flip down throughout the whole motherboard, but, you know, that's another thing to be aware of. Now, quickly, for the laptop itself, just to show you, you have your keyboard, which sits here. You grab your cover. Now, you want to move the keyboard down here. You want to take this cover now. Now this is the ribbon cable that I'm talking about that controls these 2 switches. Alright, see this connector here? This connector here is a flip up. Easier to put the cable in. And I'll show you how to do that. Of course, my hands will probably get in the way. But you take the cable. And you line it up till it slides in there. No. Now this is one of those trial and errors. So let me give you a minute break while I get this in here. This is what I mean. You got to be tough. Yeah, it took me a minute. Couldn't be distracted. What it did was, you know, I lifted it up, just slid it right in. As soon as it slid in and the little black bar up top disappeared, just flip that down. Easy way to test if it's working. The power. It comes on. And that's also a CMOS area, considering I unhooked the CMOS to think that maybe draining the battery would give me a hint to the problem that I need to solve on this. Oh, and gently, see the keyboard sits underneath this. And these do snap in along here. Got to keep pressing. Well, actually, after you put your screws on, now this is where I explained that you keep the screws in the back separated too. Alright, at this point, if I wasn't looking elsewhere, I'd be flipping it over, putting those screws back in, and when that power button came on, you would have a brand new monitor. And, you know, you can catch them on like eBay, Amazon. You could get cheap monitors. I'm Joseph Merdino. I own Crash Computer Repair. Well, I don't own it. It's just a little side business I run. And if you're in the Ewing Township area and you need your computer fixed, come see me. I can do all this. A little bit of a plug there. All right. Let me see what else I'm going to do. But that's it. After you get this cover back on, you're done. Just make sure those ribbon cables are hooked up and working. Yes, I did take the keyboard out because the cooling fan, I just turned it over to check it without having to pull the whole back off, which is my very last resort. I'm going to try to get to the cooling fan through here. I see some screws holding this down, so maybe I just might be able to pull this plate off. But I was correct. Not like the plug that I showed you here for the power and Wi-Fi light. This plug did have, it's got a connector on here. It pushes down. And you have to make sure when you're doing that, that your ribbon cable is going straight in. You can't even be off. It's done. It goes in easy. I mean, just because I'm talking about it, you'd be surprised. Just don't get frustrated after your first or second time. You'll get it. But the thing is once you get it, you just put your little finger there and you hold it, because these will be pushed forward. They have to be forward in order for you to slide the cable through there. Then you just take a little screwdriver, you press one side, you press the other side, and that locks it back in. And you're back up. And then, again, from what I can see for where I'm doing right now, that is the only other ribbon cable plug you would have to worry about. Yeah, I decided I am going to remove the hard drive too, because I don't want to damage the information on it. I do have to take the back off this. There's no easy possible way of getting to the cooling fan. Good thing for a magnet. From the top. It's got to be done from the bottom. I already removed the screws. It was only 7, which got lucky. 1 in each corner, 2 in the front, and 1 in the center that holds the CD-ROM in. Got 2 more screws here. Oh, got that one already. Now, to remove the hard drive, there's always a pull tab, some sort of a tab. If you have to, you use a screwdriver, but pry it really gently there. But if you can get it out this way. And that is the hard drive. And let me see, without putting my glasses on here, because this machine is a little older. What did they put in here? You see, it's only got a 120 gigabyte hard drive. That just goes to show you the oldness of this machine. And they don't believe me that it could possibly be a hardware failure.